Hello friends, welcome to another story time. You know I like throwing in some stories every once in a while that I know are just going to be fun and stories that I don't think many people have heard, but I also really love throwing in my classics, stories that I know people will be familiar with, especially if you don't have access to these books yourself. I like sometimes knowing that my friends are familiar with these stories and can enjoy them fully with me. So I picked another classic today. If you've heard this version, though, I'm not sure, because this is one of those stories where it's been retold so many times. So even if you do know this story, that's what's so great about stories that have been retold. Even if you know the story, you might have just not heard this version. So it might be a little fresh and new for you, which is always really nice. So today, we are going to be reading Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And this is retold and illustrated by Valerie Gorbachev. And I love her little illustrations. They're so cute. So this is the front of our book. Oh, I already have some friends joining. Hello. All right, so let's get started. So Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I love this story. Once upon a time, like all good fairy tales begin, there were three bears who lived together in a little cottage in the woods. There was a great big father bear, a middle-sized mother bear, and a wee small baby bear. Their home looks so cozy. I love that they're all spending the night together reading. Well, Mama's reading, Daddy's playing music, the baby's playing the drums. I love it. Good family time. One morning, the three bears decided to go for a walk in the woods while their breakfast porridge cooled. Heading out for a nice little stroll. While they were gone, a little girl named Goldilocks came past their cottage. So you can see little Goldilocks way down here. She peeked in the window, and when she saw that no one was home, she went inside. There on the table sat the 3 bowls of porridge. The porridge smelled so delicious that Goldilocks just had to have some. Do you ever feel like you smell something and it smells so good and you're like, I need that. I need to have some of that. So that's exactly how she's feeling. I know that feeling. First, she tried the porridge in the great big father bear's great big bowl, but it was too hot. Next, she tried the porridge in the middle-sized mother bear's middle-sized bowl, but it was too cold. Then she tried the porridge in the wee small baby bear's wee small bowl, and it was just right. So she ate it all up. Look at the size of these spoons. My word. They're so big. When she had finished the porridge, Goldilocks wandered into the sitting room where she found the 3 bears' chairs. First, she tried the great big father bear's great big chair, but it was too hard. Next, she tried the middle-sized mother bear's middle-sized chair, but it was too soft. Then she tried the wee small baby bear's wee small chair, and it was just right. So Goldilocks sat down in the chair. I think Mama Bear's chair looks so comfy. And broke it all to bits. Then Goldilocks went upstairs, where she found the 3 bears' beds. First, she tried the great big father bear's great big bed, but it was too hard, so Father Bear likes his stuff firm, it sounds like. Next, she tried the middle-sized Mother Bear's middle-sized bed, but it was too soft, and that Mama Bear likes her soft stuff. Whose is she gonna try next? Then she tried the wee small baby bear's wee small bed, and it was just right. So Goldilocks lay down and fell fast asleep. No sooner had Goldilocks fallen asleep, who's gonna come home, than the 3 bears returned home. Their walk had made them very hungry, so they hurried right into the kitchen. You can see them coming home, and she's just snoozing away. Uh-oh. Goldilocks had left the spoon in the great big Father Bear's porridge. "Someone has been eating my porridge," said the great big Father Bear in his great big voice. The middle-sized Mother Bear saw that the spoon had been left in her bowl of porridge too. "Someone has been eating my porridge," said the middle-sized Mother Bear in her middle-sized voice. Then the wee small baby bear looked at his bowl of porridge. "Someone has been eating my porridge," cried the wee small baby bear in his wee small voice. "And they've eaten it all up." The 3 bears hurried into the sitting room. Can you imagine getting home and finding that someone ate all your food? I would be so very disappointed. Goldilocks had knocked the pillow off the great big Father Bear's chair. "Someone has been sitting in my chair," said the great big Father Bear in his great big voice. The pillow on the middle-sized Mother Bear's chair had been moved too. "Someone has been sitting in my chair," said the middle-sized Mother Bear in her middle-sized voice. Then the wee small baby bear looked at his chair. Oh no, do we remember what happened to baby bear's chair? "Someone has been sitting in my chair," cried the wee small baby bear in his wee small voice, "and they've broken it to bits." Oh, baby. Then the 3 bears went upstairs. They've got to be like, who is doing all this stuff? They're going to investigate. Goldilocks had messed up the covers on the great big Father Bear's bed. "Someone has been sleeping in my bed," said the great big Father Bear in his great big voice. The covers on the middle-sized Mother Bear's bed had been messed up too. "Someone has been sleeping in my bed," said the middle-sized Mother Bear in her middle-sized voice. Then the wee small baby bear looked at his bed. What is he gonna find? He's got a little surprise waiting in his bed, doesn't he? "Someone has been sleeping in my bed," cried the wee small baby bear in his wee small voice. "And here she is." Goldilocks woke with a start. So she got jolted awake. She looks very surprised, very startled. She leapt out of bed, jumped through the window, clambered down from the roof, and ran away just as fast as she could. Because remember, she doesn't know whose house she broke into. She was probably just really surprised to see that it belonged to these bears. Like, oh man, I gotta get out of here. What happened to Goldilocks afterwards? No one knows. The 3 bears never saw her again, and they lived happily ever after in their cottage in the woods. They're back to just enjoying family time. So there's 2 things about this story that I want to point out, that I want to kind of discuss. there's a theme in this story that I noticed as I'm reading it, and it's how our actions might hurt others, how our actions affect others. You know, there's nothing that we do that doesn't affect somebody else at some point in time somewhere. And this theme of how our actions affect others is illustrated through the concept of trespassing. Now, if you don't know what trespassing is, that means to go somewhere without permission. So Goldilocks sees this house and she doesn't knock and she didn't find out who lived there and ask permission to come into this house. She saw that no one was in there and took it upon herself to simply enter this house without finding out if she was allowed to, if that was okay. So this concept of how our actions affect others in this story, you see Goldilocks figuring this out through trespassing into this home. And another thing about Goldilocks I always kind of think about is her motivation for doing the actions that she does in this story. And I find that she's rather motivated by selfishness. You see that she has to try everything 3 times. She tries Papa Bears, Mama Bears, and then Baby Bears. When you would think that since she's somewhere she wasn't invited, somewhere she doesn't necessarily belong, that she would be okay with just the first option, but she has to try all 3. So it shows a little bit of entitlement, showing that she just feels like she is allowed to all these things. She has the right to be in this house, has the right to be trying all these things. So something that I think all of us can kind of get from this story is to be aware that sometimes when we do something, even if we don't think it will, our actions can affect other people. And hopefully for the good, but sometimes our actions can have a negative effect on on people. And you have to think, how did Goldilocks' actions affect these 3 bears? What do you think they felt and went through when their food had been eaten and baby's chair had been broken and their beds were all messed up? And you look at it and you're like, how would that make them feel? How would that make me feel if someone did that? And thinking about how our actions can affect other people helps us to really make good choices for ourselves. So bring that forward. Think about what you're doing. How can this affect somebody else? I think it would have been really nice if even Goldilocks had written a little apology letter to the bears after. It kind of leaves the story open-ended. They had never seen her again. So it's like, what could Goldilocks have done if maybe she made these bad choices? What could she have done to make things better? Maybe written them a note, offered to fix baby's chair. Like, what could she have done to make her actions better? Because sometimes we don't catch it in the moment, and that's okay. But how do you fix it afterwards is the big thing. So take that forward. I hope you love this story. I do love this story of Goldilocks, and I always get a lot out of it, as I do with all books. I try to look at a very big picture. So thank you, friends, for sharing this with me today. I hope you enjoyed this story as much as I do. And have a great rest of your day. I love you all joining me for our story times. Bye. See you next time.